Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Seal bin Han on the line, and he's CEO over at Hook Holdings. Seal, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Seal. So as we're kind of warming up here, so you met, and I guess are one of our first introduction. I know you know the other co-founder here, Chirag, but you've been out to one of our real estate events. So I should say welcome back to the Mission Matters community. Good to catch back up with you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I love all of your events. You guys are prolific with what you guys do. Love it all.
Very kind. And so, Seal, just to dive into this episode, we'll start it the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So as you're aware, Seal, our mission is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's what we do day in and day out. That's our mission. So, Seal, what mission matters to you?
We aim to lower the barrier to entry for e-commerce entrepreneurs through holdings, where we provide fulfillment, sourcing, and marketing resources for all of our clients.
What got you into e-commerce? Like, how did all that begin?
So we sort of just fell into it. We started with the agency, the creative agency, and, in the beginning, we did mostly political work, funny enough. And,
Wait a minute, from political work to e-commerce? How'd that happen? That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, politics is 90% of the headache and 10% of the revenue. But, so as we were scaling, we met a lot of different e-commerce entrepreneurs, really young guys building exciting product suites. And we just wanted to be able to support them. And, as we grew, we started adding on additional services. And so we acquired a couple of warehouses, started providing fulfillment services. And then eventually some of these entrepreneurs asked us to help them source their products. And so we have good relationships over in Asia and started building those supply chains for them. And so, that's sort of how it happened. It was very organic and not a top-down thing at all.
And so one of the things that you mentioned is part of your mission is lowering the barrier of entry. So, talk to me a little bit more about that barrier.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs specialize in, like one or two things. Usually it's like they're very good product designers, or they care deeply about, some sort of product that's missing in the market. But when you jump into becoming an e-commerce entrepreneur, there's a lot of sort of white spaces that you have to overcome. And so we just identified 3 key areas where we saw e-commerce entrepreneurs struggle the most with. One, of course, being growth marketing, like how do you get your voice out there? How do you scale your brand in terms of brand awareness with consumers? Another being fulfillment and just, supply chain in general, like how do you get products from your warehouse out to the consumer as quickly and efficiently as possible? And the third being product sourcing, like where do we actually manufacture our products? What countries are best for plastics versus metals versus woods, things of that sort. And so we just wanted to provide those entrepreneurs with a suite of tools for them to be able to scale more efficiently and focus on the things that they're good at so that we can do the things that we're good at.
And so, like, what kind of e-commerce entrepreneurs are you kind of working with? I guess let's go there. And I guess because and you can give examples by the if you choose to. You don't have to drop a name of a company, but if you want to, you're welcome to. No, it's completely okay. But like, what kind of niches and entrepreneurs are you working with?
Yeah, so we're industry agnostic. So I can sort of walk you through a case study where, during COVID, actually, I guess a better one would be sort of during the Trump presidency, there was the Trump tariffs for China. And so if you're manufacturing certain products, certain consumer goods out of China, you're hit with this like 25 to 50% tax on top of your goods, which, either gets passed on to the consumer or to the retailers, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of companies tapped us to go and find them an alternative source as quickly as possible. So one of them is like Squatty Potty, which was manufacturing bamboo products out of China. We moved the production over to Vietnam and then helped, reduce their cost of goods sold in a time that was a little wild for any sort of product manufacturer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when you think about things like fulfillment, sourcing, marketing, like typically these are all going to be different agency functions or, even supplier functions. I mean, all of these different things. But correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of have your hand in all of these different areas for e-commerce entrepreneurs. Am I off on that or?
Yeah, that's correct. So we just wanted to create a familiar experience for our customers. So, you start with, either sourcing, you start with fulfillment, or you start with digital marketing with us, and then
Mm-hmm.
you move through the other suite of tools that we provide. It's a consistent experience. You deal with, the same product manager or project manager across those three categories. And when we can prove that we can provide value in one avenue, it's very easy to sort of upsell the other services on top of what we were already
Mm-hmm.
doing for the customer.
Like that's making it easy on them. Like talk to me about what the normal or the typical experience would be somebody that's not working with a Hook Holdings or a company that has that type of setup. Like what does it normally look like? Because
Yeah,
I
so
want people to get this. I want the people to understand what it means when we say lowering the barrier of entry. This isn't just lip service.
yeah. So when you deal with like product sourcing, you usually deal with like 3 or 4 different agents that you find somewhere online or LinkedIn. They go out looking for a bunch of different factories. You sort of have to trust but verify your relationship with them. Sometimes you even have to fly there in person. It's a pretty disparate system, and there's a lot of friction whenever you're sourcing products. And then, for fulfillment, most 3PLs or third-party logistics companies that handle fulfillment here in the U.S. are sort of operating in like still the 1990s, where it's like, paper and pen, or at least
Hmm.
Excel, and how they manage your fulfillment processes. And then for digital marketing, I mean, there's just millions of agencies, and you just don't know which one to work with. So what we provide is sort of the clarity, where you can just work with one partner. We execute on all three sort of divisions very well, and we really just aim to prove it to you by working on just one small project in the beginning. And then, as we deliver, the customers tend to add on those additional experiences that we can provide.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's great because when we think about like even just what you just now described, the amount of time, the amount of
Yeah.
time and effort to, and then like what you mentioned about the Trump, the tariff, all the other things you're talking about, like that was even especially even companies that thought they had it figured out, and then there's an external factor that comes in, now you got to pivot, you got to change, you got to do something else. So having that advocate that's kind of in that 360 approach, if you will, it seems to me like you're really almost partners from the standpoint of really having to understand your clients' businesses too, because you can't, like, you wouldn't be able to have your say or have or provide value and input in all those different sections, and if you didn't like intimately know those companies, it's just not going to
Yeah,
happen. Not.
yeah, a lot of times we actually like do the visual identity, like logo
Mm,
development, brand guides for our customers through our agency, and then end
mm-hmm,
up helping them develop their products, and then of course handle the fulfillment experience as well for our customers. And so,
mm,
in a sense, our team sort of plugs into a lot of different companies and become their sort of outsourced, in-source team, if
mm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. What's typically a good fit to work with your firm? Like, is there a size of company? You already said it's agnostic in terms of like, I believe you said that in terms of
Yeah.
like industry, but like, is there a size of firm or like what's like, how does, because people will listen to this and they'll be thinking they may be the right fit, they may not.
Yeah, I would say, if you're manufacturing between, at least about $5 million or $10 million worth of inventory, that's good for our supply chain business. For our agency business, even if you're just getting started, we're a good partner to help you sort of develop the look and feel of your brand and, how your brand engages with customers online. So we can start with customers that are, just getting started. And then for a fulfillment business, I'd say we want to be shipping at least 1,000 separate orders a month for us to
Mm,
be a good fit there.
mm. What do you like about working with e-commerce entrepreneurs and founders? I feel like there's kind of the service entrepreneurs, then there's the product guys or gals, whatever. What do you like about working in that niche?
Yeah, I want to say there's something like very like visceral about like having a physical product that you can like
Mm,
touch and. So in my office, we have this wall of a bunch of different products that we've helped source, companies that we've helped scale. And we just want to keep adding more products to that wall and turn it into a big showroom one day.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I had a feeling because I always just feel like there's always this other side of having that physical product or that thing you ship or that you sell or that you get to see somebody else use and, get value out of it. It's just nothing against service businesses. It's just a different model. So I'm always interested about what people are seeing.
Yeah, there's something special about like walking through like a Target or a Walmart and just all these different like logos you've helped design, all these different products you've helped source. Yeah, it's a very just sort of personal and physical experience, I would say.
So you have a unique vantage point in e-commerce, just, with what you're doing, how you're doing it. Any interesting trends or things that you're noticing that you just want to comment on? Like what gets you excited right now in e-commerce?
Yeah, I would say, well, there's, it's an ever-changing landscape, but there are.
Well, let me ask the question and say, hold on, It's March 13th, 2024 for anybody that's watching this in a year. Go ahead.
So there's a lot of geopolitical changes that are happening right now. And so a lot of like what we're hearing from sort of the end retailers, sort of like the Walmarts, the Costcos, the Targets of the world is diversifying your supply chain. So, a lot of times it's simpler and easier to just work with one manufacturer, one factory for, whatever products you're developing. Having some geographical diversity, sourcing from places outside of China, places like Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, India, that will very much lower your risk profile when you work with large retailers. And so that's just one thing to sort of be aware of that's pretty unique post-COVID.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense because if you think about for the stores themselves, like further down the line, they're looking at it from a different perspective. Like they need their product on the shelves, right? Because nobody wins if that product doesn't get to the shelf, right?
Exactly. And you never know what's going to happen with, country A or country B. And so having a diversified supply chain and sourcing from a variety of countries, a variety of factories, that makes you a much more attractive candidate to be able to work with the large retailers in the U.S. right now.
We're all entrepreneurs here, or executives. Let's dream for a moment. Tell me more about your vision for Hook Holdings going forward. Where do you see this thing going?
Yeah, I think we would continue to add sort of more businesses under our sort of parent company to continue supporting entrepreneurs and, better delivering on our mission to sort of lower that barrier to entry to for e-commerce entrepreneurs.
Wonderful. Seal, if somebody's listening to this and they want to follow up and they want to connect and learn more, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can go to hookholdings.com and you can sort of fill out the lead form right there, and then our team will get in touch. And for all of our sub-companies, it's diamondhook.com, supplyhook.com, and hooklogistics.com.
Perfect. And then for everybody that's listening, we'll put that information in the show notes so that you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and listening to an episode and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, hey, here's your personal invitation. Hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based entrepreneurs and executives coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And if you're a long-term listener, leave us that review. If you're enjoying the content, hey, let other people know about it too, because the more reviews we have, the better. It helps us get the message out and the word out to a broader audience. So we really do appreciate it. Seal, again, so much fun having you on the show. I am privileged, and I can't wait to continue to watch the success of Hook Holdings and see what you come up with next. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.